Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for being back here in the TBM crew. Today we are with Donald Armfield. Hello, Donald. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine.
Good.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, you're an author and you also own a press, right?
Yes, I am. Not so much in the writing world right now. I'm trying to wiggle my way back in. I'm still, of course, a writer. But yeah,
Yes.
I run Hybrid Sequence Media. Really excited. Get to work with such great writers, and even going forth. Big anthology I'm releasing. I'm excited about. Hybrid Sequence Media's anthology, Hybrid Monsters, Misfits, and Other Phenom. It's great. It's just so many great writers involved. Gene Flynn, Nicole Givens, Lee Murray, Jamal Hodge, D. Holland Wilson. I'm excited to work with, there's a list of authors. I'm not going to list them all and sound like, it's great though.
That's great.
Working with.
And something special you do is that you also work with poetry, right?
Yes, I do. I all types of poetry. I'm inspirational. I have a few poetry collections with inspirational type works. Laura Fitzgerald was one of my recent published poets. She's called Beautifully. The name of the book's called Beautifully Broken. It's a really good book. It has it's like almost like an autobiography type.
Yeah.
And it's really thought-provoking and very, very well written. It's just great to work with. Like I said, it's great to work with all these writers, poets, and whatever comes along. I'd like to see.
Yes.
I'd like to see some more Dada, if anyone's familiar with that genre. I'd really like to adventure into that world. I've read quite a few collections or writers that wrote in that style. I would really like to see someone submit something like that. Even comics. I would love to.
Really?
Oh yeah, that would be a blast.
Yeah, that would be amazing. To get some graphic artists in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, you were telling me the way you collect the authors, right? That's something very special because you're the one reaching out sometimes, right?
I reach out to them.
Yes.
Out of like Facebook, mainly Facebook poetry groups, and just browsing, either trying to go to sleep or whatever it is, just browsing through, and I come across these writers, and I'm like, wow, that's an amazing poem. And then I kind of stalk them out for a little while, and reading some of their poems, and I'm like, oh, there's another one, that's a really good poem. So I finally just reach out to them and ask them if they'd like to publish a book, and I told them I really like their work, and their words just they're spine chilling, I guess you could say, or whatever it is, like it gives you goose flesh, So I reach out to them, and a lot of them are astonished. A lot of them,
of course,
they're amazed that I like their work so much.
I can imagine. Of course. Well, like this, you have a group of very encouraged authors. This is also a way of getting the best of them and amazing work from them, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with with my press, called Hybrid Sequence Media. I looked at hybrid as say, everything coming together to make what it mutates into, or what it turns into. Whether it's poetry, horror, and just kind of it all comes together to make the monster, or however you want to word it, whatever metaphor you want to use,
Yes.
And that's what brings it together, as a whole, just the sequence of it and putting it all together, and then the media, of course, reaching out to all those people and just sharing across platforms, and just reaching out, just getting to work with writers. At first it was more of a hobby, when I first opened the company, and I was so excited to work with it, and then all of a sudden it turned into more of a job. At this point. But I'm still having fun. My real life job, working as an overnight baker, not so much. Being a night owl and things like that, kind of drowns out on you. But overall, I'm having a blast. Honestly, it's a dream come true to work with.
That's
talent.
that's the way things go better, I think. When something is made with enthusiasm and with love, I think that's the way you get the best results. What's the best experience you've had while publishing?
I mean, honestly, I mean, my anthology coming out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that was like a dream. Like, you know, I spoke with Maxwell and Gold. He's actually co-editing with me on it.
Yes.
And, excuse me. But yeah, he's actually co-editing with me. You know, we talked it over on the phone, conversations after conversation, and you know, and just kind of put it together and put our heads together and reached out to these writers, and they, you know, they all came forth, and I mean, it was great. I mean, it was like, you know, I 2 years in, almost 2 years in, or pretty much 2 years in, and here I am working with, you know, some writers that I've, you know, read their work as a growing writer, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. And I mean, other things I have coming up in the summer, I mean, it's great. I get to work with Philip Kraske. He's you know, he's a great writer. Sure everyone pretty much knows this guy by now. Yeah, I did a poetry collection with him.
Yes.
More of his like kind of like a get to know the writer type poetry. His poetry is really, I loved every moment of it. And I have a children's book coming out by him called The Boy with the Blue Rose Heart in August.
Okay.
Which will be, you know, my first children's book through Hybrid.
Oh.
Excited to release that. The artwork in it is amazing by Luke Spooner.
Uh-huh.
I get to work with Scott. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher his name. Cortea, I believe it's pronounced. A story called, I mean, the name of the collection is called The Box.
Yes.
Like a Lovecrafting cosmic horror type thing. Really excited to release that. John Paul Fitch I'm working with. I believe we're pronouncing the collection Diabolique.
Yes.
Some reprints with Matt LeSean, Jason Morton. You know, he's a very quiet poet in the, I mean, kind of like in the background.
Yes.
But his work is, I feel his poetry is it's very deep, and you know, it's like so focused. You know, he's so focused on what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just needs to get out there in the world, and you know, and I think that would boost him and get him back out there in the world, you know, for his poetry. I mean, I like him as a writer, you know. And yeah, I mean, there's so many more, I mean, names I could blast out. But yeah, I mean, these are just some of the people I get to work with, and it's fun, you know?
I think that's fantastic what you're doing for them also, because that's the opportunity they have to get their work out there. So I think you're giving them that path, and that's amazing. What's with your experience with all these authors, what's an advice you would give to new writers?
You know, I would say, even from a writer standpoint as well, don't try to compare. You know, I've never tried to compare to other writers. You know, I feel like that's a big thing sometimes, where, you know, writers will compare themselves to, you know, other writers, and it makes them down. It makes them feel like, you know, oh, I'm not going to be as good as this person or anything like that. It's like, do your own thing, and, you know, find your voice. I mean, that would be a big thing, you know. Your voice is not always the first one you go with. Like, here I am, like I said, I'm not really writing so much. I'm trying to find my voice.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm trying new things, you know. Other things I would say is, you know, when you submit your work, I mean, don't hover over the email box and wait for it. You know, just kind of, you know, let it fly, you know, and just wait it out and see if they submit your work, you know. And another thing I see a lot of people doing is talking about their rejections, and, you know, and overall, like, I mean, I feel like, you know, try not to talk about them so much. You know, I always try to, you know, I just try to build on that. Like, I get a rejection, okay, I'll keep going. You know, let's try something new, or let's add this to the story or poem, whatever. But, you know, I mean, overall, I think that's like the big thing is, like, just don't try to compare, and you know,
to be positive.
Let it knock you down. Just keep trying, you know, whatever it is. Reach out to some writers, and even some writing courses. I can't speak on myself taking writing courses, but, you know, I've heard a lot of writers come out of writing courses and they get, you know, some really good, you know, feed from it. Angela Eureka Smith has a couple of books well, she does like a YouTube channel where she, you know, talks about writing, like either it's a chapter in the book or maybe character building, or, you know, all the works that go with, you know, writing a, you know, a short story or writing a novel, whatever it may be. And then she releases it. She's releasing them in little book volumes to, you know, help the writing community. So, you know, if for the viewers, if they're watching, I mean, check her out, Angela Yuriko Smith. You know, she's on Facebook, and she does, you know, that could definitely help writers, you know, in the, you know, in beginning stages, or even trying to build a name for themselves.
I think we should use the time to improve and to learn more than to focus on, because after all in life we all get rejections for everything.
Right.
We cannot do everything we want to do always, and sometimes you need to fight and you need to build slowly, you know, and sometimes it's more about the process.
Right. You take the pat on the back, you know, I mean, from your fellow readers. I mean, people that, you know, like your work. That's another thing too, for writers, like when they, you know, like when they reach out to beta readers, I think it should be someone that's unfamiliar with their work. I feel like you'll get a better vision of, you know, what you want to hear, instead of, you know, like letting your uncle read it and he's like, oh, that's great, you know, that's wonderful work, and then you're like, oh, awesome, you know. So I feel like, you know, reaching out to someone that you don't really know, and just asking them, you know, like you said, you know, I mean, even in the horror community, and I'm speaking for the whole writing community in general, a lot of people are very, you know, they're afraid to reach out. They're like, oh, they're not going to want to talk to me, they're too famous for me, or, you know, they're probably way too busy. But like I said, you just reach out to them, you know, and just sound polite as possible, and you'll be surprised, like, by how many people are like, yeah, I'll take a look at it, you know. And just don't patronize them. Just let them, you know, let them do the thing, you know, wait a little while, and then, you know, see what they usually get right back to you. I've learned it, you know.
There's a lot of people willing to read and to participate somehow, because sometimes beta readers are just happy to be part of the process. You know, it's like you put your bits in there because maybe something that you say as a beta reader helps to improve that book. I know it, I don't know, I think they are important. So, and there's a lot of people willing to do that.
I mean, back in 2011, 2012, I was excited. I became an avid reader. I mean, I was reading so much, and that was like a big thing. When I started reaching out to writers, and they're like, oh, you want to read my book? You know, it's coming out next month, you know, and that was a great thing that you're the first, maybe one of the first people to read this book. And that was a huge thing for me. I was like, wow, I feel so, you know, I felt, I don't know, I mean, I don't know what word to use right now. It was like touched, you know what I mean? Like they reached out to me and let me read their work first. And like I said, like with Hybrid Sequence Media, that's like a huge thing. Like, you know, I'm the first person to maybe read this, you know, this story or this poem, or, you know, or this experimental work, you know. It's a great feeling to read that, and you're like, wow, this is, you know, this is good. And then, you know, sometimes you come across, like, you know, like I said, like, you know, something you need to reject, and I try to give encouragement. You know, I try to say, you know, I really like this, but, you know, let's try working on maybe, you know, a better character, or, you know, and I kind of give them. So yeah, it's just, it's fun working. It's just fun working with all the writers, you know. It really is.